Hi, okay, we're continuing with our trig ratios, and today we are going to use them to find missing sides. So just so we have all of our information in one spot, I'm going to copy down our trig functions. So remember, so is the sine, and that equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Then we have co, which is the cosine, which equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Hopefully you're starting to memorize these. And then the last one is TOA. And we have the tangent, which equals the opposite over the adjacent. All right, so we're going to go step by step how to find missing sides using these trig ratios. Let's sketch our problem first. So we have this angle, which is 40. This side is 5. They want to know what x is, what this side is. So the first thing we need to do is, so remember they change depending on which angle you're using. So we're using this angle. So with regard to this angle, this side would be the opposite. This side would be the hypotenuse. And we're trying to find, they want the adjacent side because that's where x is. So then step 2, you need to determine which trig ratio to use. So how do you determine which trig ratio to use? Well, it depends on the information that you have. So we have no information for the hypotenuse, and they don't want us to find the hypotenuse. So that means it's not going to be sine, because sine uses hypotenuse, and it's not going to be cosine, because cosine uses the hypotenuse. So now we know we're going to be using tangent. So you determine which trig ratio to use and write the ratio. So now we know it's going to be tangent, which equals opposite over adjacent. And so in this case, our angle is 40. So we need to write the tangent of 40 equals the opposite side, which is 5, divided by the adjacent side, which is x. And so then our next step is we need to solve for x. So that means we can do some cross multiplying. So we have x times the tangent of 40 equals, we cross multiply here, 1 times 5, which is 5. And then we're trying to solve for x, and x is being multiplied by tangent of 40. So how do we get rid of multiplication? We divide. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. Those cancel out, leaving us with x equals 5 divided by the tangent of 40. And so we are going to need to use our calculator at this point. And so we have 5 divided by the tangent of 40. So you're going to hit 5 first. Where is it? Okay. And then you're going to divide. And you have to hit, at least on an iPhone, to use tangent 40, you have to hit the 40 first and then tangent. And then equals. And so x equals 5.96. That means that we just found this side. We found our adjacent side right here. We now know that this side is 5.96. And if we wanted to, if it asked us, we could find the hypotenuse because we could use Pythagorean theorem. It's a right triangle. We now know two sides. We could then solve for the hypotenuse. Okay, so let's look at your assignment. We'll do a couple of these together. So we're going to do the same thing that we just did in our notes. We're going to try to find the missing side using our trig ratios. So step 1 is label the sides. So we're working from this angle here, which means this side is the opposite side. This side is the hypotenuse. It's across from the right angle, and that means this side is the adjacent side. And I'm going to write SOHCAHTOA at the top just for easy reference. So we have the opposite and we have the hypotenuse. So we're looking for an O and an H. So which one has O and H? That's so. We're going to be using so. So the sine of our angle is 46, equals the opposite side, which is 11, over the hypotenuse, which is x. So we figured out which trig ratio to use, and we wrote our ratio. Now we need to cross multiply and solve for x. So we'll make this a fraction 2, and we can cross multiply. So we have x times the sine of 46 equals 1 times 11, which is 11. We are trying to solve for x, so we need to divide both sides by the sine of 46. So those cancel out, leaving us with x equals, here's where we need our calculator. So we're going to clear it. We have 11. And we're going to divide that by, and remember on an iPhone you have to type the 46 first and then the sign button, equals 15.29. Okay, let's do one more. So for number 2, first we want to label the sides. So we're working from this angle, which is 39. So this side would be our opposite side. The x is our hypotenuse, and the 17 is the adjacent side. So the two sides that they've given us is the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So we're looking for A and H, because those are the two sides that we have. So adjacent and hypotenuse, AH. Oh, right here. Cosine uses the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So step 2, to determine which trig ratio to use, we've determined that we need to use the cosine. We're doing CA. So the cosine of our angle, which was 39, is equal to the adjacent side, which is 17, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Then we're ready to solve for x. So we turn both into a fraction, and we can cross multiply. So we have x times the cosine of 39 equals 1 times 17, which is 17. Solve for x by dividing both sides by the cosine of 39. Those cancel out, and x equals, let's get our calculator, and we're going to do 17, let me clear it just in case, 17 divided by, we're going to type in the 39 first, and then hit the cosine button, and that equals 21.87. So our hypotenuse is 21.87. Okay, go ahead and complete your assignment.